3 years ago, I asked the question, how is Amazon selling a rangefinder for a fraction of the price? And realistically, how does it compete against the biggest brands in the game? The answer to that question was it did pretty well against this, even though there were teething problems, certain teething problems that I want to have a look at today. Because it's back, it's upgraded, and it's not that much more expensive than the model that I found 3 years ago. I'm not surprised. My previous review of the version before this rangefinder is one of the most popular videos on my channel with over 100,000 views. And it's for two reasons. Reason number one, golfers know that they need accurate yardage to a flag, bunker, tree, whatever it is, to commit to shots in this game. And reason number two, they don't want to spend over £200 for it. Guys, how you doing? Welcome back to a brand new video. Simon here at the lovely Sanford Springs Golf Club, and I've got an updated version of what I would consider a budget friendly rangefinder. You see, 3 years ago when I compared one of these to my Bushnell, from certain yardages, this device was very good. Actually, from longer distances, it was still pretty accurate, but more fiddly. Harder to use, harder to see through, and one of the biggest downfalls of any rangefinder is holding the thing steady enough to actually well use the thing. Now, big thanks to Alpha for reaching out and sending me their more updated version. Obviously, they saw how popular the previous video that I did was. However, I want to make it very clear today in this video what you're missing out on in, let's say, a more budget-friendly rangefinder. But more importantly, 3 years later, does this do the bare bones a lot better? Does this provide the average golfer that doesn't want to spend a fortune on a rangefinder, but actually reap the rewards of how technology's come over the last 3 years? So let's do a quick little unboxing and let's keep this quick and simple. Again, I remember saying 3 years ago, the packaging of the previous version, I'll show you an image on here, actually seemed a bit cheap. Cellophane, the packaging wasn't all there. This one feels a bit more premium. It feels more like opening an iPhone, actually, to be perfectly honest. Instruction manual, wipe, and one of the biggest things that I do like about this rangefinder, probably one of the biggest things that I think advancements on any rangefinder nowadays, is the fact that you can charge these devices up. And once you've charged them up, to be honest, you don't really need to charge them up for a very long time either. Because if you've ever owned a rangefinder in the past, you know how expensive those little batteries are. Little case, not as simple and as easy. Oh, mind you, it's got Velcro there, so actually, maybe I'll take that back. Typical rangefinder, you have a little pulley system. This one has Velcro. How long that would last, we don't know. And there we have it, the new GX6, which I want to tell you what's much better about this thing already. And then also what I'm very keen to test in a minute is that actually have they improved what they couldn't 3 years ago on a very similar budget. So let's talk about price as we walk to our first test spot. £79 on Amazon at the moment, with a limited time offer where you get £10 off with a voucher, so that's £69, or on their website, their Alpha website, I'll leave the link in description, £67.95, which is only £8 more than what it was 3 years ago. The irony now, 3 years later, is that the previous version of this basically had all the same functions as my Bushnell here. Ironically, this now has more functions than obviously my expensive Bushnell from back in the day. So first up, my Bushnell rangefinder, we're probably about 15 yards, something like that. And my first topic that I want to talk about, especially let's say cheaper rangefinder models and what they necessarily, oh hang on, we're not doing well here, are we? There we go, 17 yards. I noticed this the other day. My Bushnell doesn't like to lock on nowadays. It is quite old, it's about 8 years old, I'm not gonna lie. And still a very handy rangefinder. However, one thing that separated this from the previous version is how big the viewfinder is, the magnification, the clarity, what you can see out of, and I've always compared that to these because rangefinders aren't that easy to use. You do need a really steady hand, and again, I'm doing this against my camera, so sorry for the shaking. It's actually a lot easier when you do this to your eye. Anyway, in the past, oh, that's quick. Oh, that's quick. Oh, that's quick. Okay, that's it. Okay, to be fair, the speed test from this range, absolutely no question, and that is locking onto the flag very nicely. However, even the older version of this Alpha rangefinder was actually pretty good head to head. If you go back and watch that video, they're very close. It's only when we started getting further away that I started to see issues with it. 5 yards out, 6 yards out. Okay, next test to the flag. We're about 70 odd yards, something like that to the flag here. Hopefully we'll lock on, and we do. 70 yards, 71 yards, 72 yards. It's back into action, this thing. It's firing on all cylinders. I must say, early on, I still feel the viewfinder on the Bushnell is a bit bigger. And the only reason I think that is, I don't feel like the lens is any smaller. It's just, I said this about the last rangefinder. There's a lot going on, i.e. how much graphics are on the screen. I like the battery meter at the bottom, don't get me wrong. That's one of the biggest disadvantages, I should say, of most rangefinders. Let me take the slope off so there's less graphics. Oh, maybe that does look a touch better, actually, to be honest. Obviously, the biggest new addition that this rangefinder has compared to the previous model is that it has slope, and slope used to cost an absolute fortune back in the day, and now it's almost just an added extra. No one even thinks about it. Again, I quite like the style of this. If it's off, that means slope is on. So now it's flashing. Basically, that means it's conforming. I mean, it is quite a roundabout way of doing it. Most people just have like buttons that are obviously fluorescent or whatnot, but again, it's quite cool. And for some of you watching that don't know what slope is, watch me laser the flag. At the top there, that's the yardage. At the bottom there, that's saying how much my yardage is. So if you're playing really downhill, you might have 100 yards to the flag, but when you account for the slope, the hill, you've only got 80 yards. So you would hit an 80-yard wedge shot. Now, I potentially got something else I want to talk about this rangefinder, and potentially what you are missing from, let's say, the bigger ones. However, can I just say, as we're going through this, oh, it kind of got the bank at the back there. Yeah, 120, 120, 120. 7-8 years ago, what I've got in my hand here with the Alpha, big brands would have charged an absolute fortune for and have. Again, I still feel like I've got more clarity. I think you can kind of see that as well through the lens here, even though it did get the yardage wrong there. 18, 118, 117, 118. 117. So one's coming out with about 120, one's coming out with about 118. However, one thing I would say is that the Bushnell is slightly bigger. So in terms of like holding in your hand, ergonomics, I think it's called. Again, I feel a tiny bit more steadier with this one. And considering Alpha sent me this rangefinder, I want to be fair, I want to be nitpicky, as I've done tons of rangefinder reviews over the years. And to be honest, it's difficult to tell some of them apart. But when I think back to the previous version, it was quick, it was accurate, but it was more fiddly. It certainly wasn't as quick as this one, lasering the flag. And it really makes me wonder over the next 8 years, quite similar to, let's say, driver technology, we've kind of hit a limit of what you could actually charge for a rangefinder nowadays. There's not necessarily that much gatekeeping on accurate distances in 2025. Let's go a bit further back. I want to do a speed test in a minute, because I did a speed test back in the day, and this one by about 3 seconds, something like that, because it is tough to get accurate yardages when I'm measuring, not accurate yardages, but get a steady hand, I should say, when I'm putting this through the lens. However, let's go from about 200 yards, because this is a yardage that's going to be important for a lot of us. 214. This is kind of a yardage that you want to know. You're like, right, how far have I got to the flag? So it's 214 to the flag. And then how far is it to cover that bunker on the left there, for example? Like that. So it's 214, 215. That is quick. 214. That is definitely better than last time's. Jesus, okay. Let's do a quick little speed test that I did last time and see how technology's actually come on. We're about 150 odd yards from the flag. Right, the GX6 up first. Let's start from now. 139, 140, 139. Well, that was quick, wasn't it? I watched the older video last week to obviously prepare for this one. It took about 9 seconds last time. Right, Tour V4. Ready, steady, go. 138, 138, 138. They've got to be close, haven't they? And we've got one more test to do, obviously, to give you my final verdict on this rangefinder. But that speed test kind of just combines everything, like ease of use when it's up to my eye and I'm not using a camera. Accuracy, they're both within a yard of each other. Who knows which one's more accurate? I mean, fair play to Bushnell, to be honest, because it's 8 years old and still obviously doing rather well. And if I wasn't doing YouTube videos and reviews and I was just playing tournament golf, I wouldn't have any need to realistically change this. But for someone that's had a lot of practice, or potentially you're a person that is looking to practice with a rangefinder, these things take practice. Steady aim, making sure you get the right yardage. They do take practice to get used to. I mean, let's be honest, what can I say is different from each other? Right, the Alpha up first. Let's see if we can get this bad boy in the distance, shall we? 374, 340. Yeah, that's the flag there, isn't it? Right, so it's 340, 340. I mean, this is dominating the old version. Whatever the old version was doing, I could never have done this. So you're getting a pretty good idea. It's still scanning somewhat the back. Again, you're looking for a rough distance over 300 yards, I'm sure. Typically trees in the back, like you don't want to go to the trees. However, let's take the Tour V4 up next. And again, I do like the fact that there's not much on display, I have to say. Right, it's just at the back as well. So 374, at least we know the trees are 374. Oh, will it get the flag? That's interesting. It'll get the flag if I was up against my eye, must be said. Oh, no, that's not it. Go on, get on it. Get on it. When I look back at that previous rangefinder review, I was just happy that it was somewhat able to keep up with my Bushnell at the time. And no, this isn't the biggest, heaviest, steadiest rangefinder I've ever used. However, I said at the start, what does it do when it comes to their bare bones? I'm talking accurate, quick yardage, especially if you put a bit of practice in it. I mean, this far surpasses the older model that I ever tested. And let's be honest, for not that much more money, and you get slope on it as well nowadays. And yes, other rangefinders have other bells and whistles, but then at the same time, those bells and whistles can cost up to 100, 150, 250 pounds more. Whereas back in the day, we were happy just to settle with this and also pay a premium for it. Guys, thank you ever so much for watching. Catch you in the next one.